So why don't we take citizens to be heard, and let's have them be able to comment on their issues. Let's see, I think I've got this right. Yeah, Jeremy Payne. Jeremy here. How are you?
Morning, Judge. Morning, Commissioners. You will find that you have manila envelopes. I believe there's enough for each of you. There's also a thumb drive with this presentation because we don't have the time to do everything that we'd like to do. On that thumb drive are some audio and some video for you guys to watch, and we'll get to those in the presentation. The reason I'm here to update you is I want to update you about negotiations. I want to clarify a couple things about our insurance, about compensatory time, about our comparables, and about lack of support from the county manager. Clarifying insurance. On September 12, 2016, there was a work session that was done here in the court. Insurance was voted and raised by 17% for all county employees, and an added $100 penalty or surcharge for spouses that are on our insurance. I'm going to break down here. September 12th, during that work session, Commissioner Calvert asked Ms. Tina Dean if the unions were aware of the spousal surcharge. We weren't. As a matter of fact, her comments were that they met on August 3rd and on August 30th. Before September 12th, the last meeting that we had was on July 19th. So we did not know. Now, they did tell us that there would be increased cost in insurance. The last time we received an increased cost was 4 to 5 years ago at 5%. This is 3 times that amount. Not to mention the fact that the $1,200 a month increase brings us to $1,648 a year. The 17% increase is at $448 a year. That's a $4,200 a year that I'll be paying in insurance. Currently, I pay $2,600 a year annually in insurance. So, David Smith told you all that there was going to be an increase to our insurance by 17%. But with the spousal increase, my insurance raised by 62.5% this year. That's what's going to happen on January 1st. That's astronomical. And I know Commissioner Elizondo, who's not here with us, says, people say you give me a 3% raise and then you raise my insurance by 3% and it cancels it out. I get that because I have to deal with that argument with my deputies all the time. I have to say to them, guys, it doesn't cancel out. When you have $2,600 and you take 3% of that, that's not, you can't take your annual salary at 3% and say, hey, you took away my raise. But when you increase insurance by 62.5%, it doesn't just take away a pay raise. It puts them in the negative for the year. I just wanted you to know that because I didn't feel like that. I felt that was very, very, very misleading. Okay? The video of the September 12th meeting with the comments with Commissioner Calvert, that is on that flash drive. Then there is also on that flash drive our negotiation session. It's an audio because we don't do video. It's an audio. And if you pay close attention to minutes 6 through 8, it will be the denial that conversation never happened in this court from Tina. And then Albert Pena just tries to mop it up and lies and lies and lies to try and figure out some way around hiding the truth. And I expect for these people that come to talk to you to be honest with you. And I don't feel like that's happening. I feel like you guys are being misled. It just feels like a smoke and mirrors kind of thing. 17% or is it 62.5%? And for those of us with spouses on our insurance, it's 62.5%. Vacation and holiday time. We accrue vacation and holiday time because that's a benefit to us. Everybody gets 2 weeks vacation and everybody gets 2 weeks holiday time. 10 days a year, okay? Well, over in the detention center, our guys are asked to work mandatory overtime. And I know that this isn't necessarily true, but there is a probability, because our guys are on a list every week to work. That means there's a probability that they could work 8 hours, and at compensatory time, that's 12 hours. With the 12 hours time, and you add that all up, it comes to 624 hours a year. Now, I'm going to tell you that no deputy is working 624.
We're going to need you to wrap up pretty quickly.
Thank you. That no deputy is working 624 hours a year. But what has happened is by setting the 200 cap that you guys did and then pulling that out of comp time from that time forward, after a deputy has worked 1.5 years at the sheriff's office, he will never get holiday time from the county again because it's capped. And he will never get vacation time after, I believe it's 2 years, because it's, or 3 years, because it's capped. So it seems to me, and it feels to me, that what's happening is the way we're generating revenue to make the bills is to increase our insurance by 62.5% and to steal from our holiday time and vacation time for our employees. And that's terrible business. One quick last thing that I want to bring up. Comparables. In comparables, we get compared to other people's insurance. We get compared to SAWS or whatever, and there's not a full compensation package. Commissioner Wolf, you've brought this up many times about, I want to see what the compensation package is. It's not fair to me to complain to commissioners that I don't make as much as somebody else when there's a lot of soft money in my contract, right? And my insurance rates are not as high as those people. But those never happen. We just get, this is what SAWS is paying for insurance, and this is, USAA, okay? When we go about raises, I'll give you a for instance, and I'm not picking on D.A. LaHood, not by any means. I think everybody has a worth. D.A. LaHood was compared to other cities, major cities, that had multiple DAs. And so there was, hey, we need to raise him up percentage-wise to get him in the situation to where he's getting paid because he's doing the job of 2 DAs in this county. I think Mr. LaHood should get paid. I think commissioners should get paid. But when it came to the county, the comparables went from the 5 largest counties, which they added, but then they added places like Wilson County. They added places like Denton County. They added places like Hidalgo County. And they added those types of things to bring down the cost and bring down the comparables and bring down our pay. And then they said, well, you guys are only this far behind. So I just feel like those things aren't being conveyed to you. I'm more than welcome to take any questions that you have. Look, the only way that these guys in the back of the room know that you care about them is through what you do in the contract. I mean, we can do pomp and circumstance. People only know that the way I am seen by the commissioners that they care for me is how they compensate me. And when insurance is raised by 62.5%, and when vacation and holiday time are going to be taken away because we're not going to be able to use it because we're going to have to use our comp time all the time, you're just taking benefits away from us, and it makes it look like the county is funding the county off the backs of our deputies. And that's a sad state.
Thank you very much. I think we have a couple other people here to speak.
Judge, if I could just ask a point of personal privilege. Yeah. I couldn't, when Thomas interrupted your discussion on the compensatory time, I lost the train of thought. Can you go over that one more time for me, that section? I need to understand.
So basically, we have officers who are working mandatory overtime over at the jail, okay? And we have a list that goes out through all the week. I know a lot of times we hear that mandatory overtime is seasonal. What is seasonal about mandatory overtime is the spike, okay? The more inmates we have, the more mandatory overtime there is.
Summer is often a time where that happens.
So when it's warm outside and everybody is out interacting, crime goes up. When it's cold outside and they want to stay home, crime goes down, okay? So what happens is we have influx of population. But there is always mandatory overtime. It doesn't go away. Okay? It just peaks at certain times of the year. And what happens is you guys had the problem with compensatory time. You guys started to see, hey, we're paying out more overtime all of a sudden. And it was like this big, well, it's because everybody filled up their time banks at 480. And now, because of federal guidelines, you're having to pay that back. Because at 480, anything above that, you've got to pay in money. And so what's happening is our deputies are working compensatory time. They're working compensatory time they'll have more than 200 hours in their time bank every year. And so when y'all made the decision to come in and say after 200 hours, if somebody takes vacation time, that we're going to take it out of their comp time bank. Well, our vacation time, it caps at 240 hours. And then our holiday time is supposed to cap at 96 by civil service rules and county rules, but we're actually talking about 144 hours of contract for the deputies. But once those things cap, then you lose it. Anything after that, you lose. So when you put a cap at 200 hours of comp time, after a deputy hits 200 hours, he'll never get vacation and holiday again because the mandatory overtime is so exhaustive. And so it almost feels like we're taking a benefit of vacation time and holiday time away from the deputies that we're not taking away from other people. And nobody else, the civilians aren't working the mandatory overtime, and our patrol deputies aren't working the mandatory overtime like the detention officers are. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I hope that clarifies that.
Real quick, I have to have one question because it sticked out at me. Spouses paying $100 a month, under what circumstances?
This is the $100 surcharge per month that we approved as part of the budget. It applies to spouses who elect county insurance if they have access to other insurance through their employer.
So it's not every spouse. It's
It's
those
not
that
every
have
spouse.
insurance access somewhere else. Okay, I just want a clarification. Thank you.
Correct.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very much.
Judge.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Don Tiarina.
Good morning, Judge,
Morning.
Commissioners, everyone in attendance, and everyone following online. My name is Don Tijerina. This summer, in late July, when I started this public dialogue with the court and the community, I hope to bring an awareness regarding the lack of competitive base salaries of Bexar County deputies compared to SAPD and DPS. The turnout this morning should be a wake-up call that the issue of uncompetitive base salaries has reached a crisis level for all of our hometown heroes. When someone chooses to serve in the profession of law enforcement, they are taking on a world full of personal sacrifice. Studies show that first responders are more prone to suicides, divorces, substance abuse, and poor health directly related to their service. To be clear, no matter what is being said, morale in law enforcement is not where it should be. During today's National Night Out events, deputies will meet with the community and continue to form important relationships with them. But what about the relationships with our employer? During the times we live in, with violence and hatred directed at those who wear a badge, the men and women of the Sheriff's Office and their families and allies support each other. And they need to believe that their employers are looking out for their best interest. And whether true or not, that is not the perception now, as evidenced by the inaccurate, unsupportive, and prejudicial remarks of the county manager. To refocus this discussion, what precipitated the remarks by the county manager regarding the statement that requirements to be an SAPD officer are higher than ours was a question from Commissioner Calvert to Assistant County Manager, comparing the base salaries of SAPD, DPS, and the Sheriff's Office. The salary situation is at a crisis stage, as deputies fall even further behind the 20 to 25% in base salary we are today, compared with because SAPD obtained a 70% salary increase and a biannual study by the state of Texas recommending additional salary increases for DPS. I have spoken that as an observer to the collective bargaining negotiations, talks were at a stalemate, and the time had come for public policy discussions on the priority to be given to deputy sheriffs' base salaries. Any question as to what was guiding collective bargaining negotiations was answered during the collective bargaining negotiations held on September 19th. The county negotiator, who has been representing the county for over 10 years in 3 separate collective bargaining contract talks, stated during open negotiations that the negotiations were being directed by Commissioners Court. It is now clear to all parties involved that any further progress in negotiations will be in the hands of Commissioners and its policy-making direction to county negotiators. As part of the communities we protect and serve, I believe most officers, including myself, believe in the importance of economic development and improvements. And we also understand how the high morale, or lack of it, of first responders has an effect on public safety. Policy decisions dictate priorities. Judge Wolf, when you speak to the Greater Chamber of Commerce on October 28th, do you want to advise them that Bexar County has inherited the collective bargaining fight from the city of San Antonio and SAPOA over health insurance, but Bexar County's fight with the DSABC is over wages, specifically uncompetitive salaries paid by the county? What happened this week added fuel to the fire regarding the county's perceived priorities. On September 27th, at a Commissioners Court work session, the San Pedro Creek Improvement Project was discussed. The county manager was essentially requesting a motion that Commissioners Court vote to go above the budgeted amount of $125 million up to $155 million. The motion passed. Within that project, due to expedited construction schedule to have the project completed up to Dolorosa by the end of May 2018 for the city's tricentennial anniversary, are $3 million for the expedited construction process. The county manager stated it was only $3 million, and he felt justified in finding funds for it. Within the cost of the project are $19 million to be paid by the city of San Antonio through their upcoming bond election if successful. If not successful, the county manager stated he would have to come back to Commissioners Court with a recommended approach to fund the $19 million, as the county would be at risk for that amount because bids would have already been awarded. A statement was made thanking commissioners for making phone calls to companies participating so that they would be aware that the program was important to the community and so that it was dealt with the appropriate level of attention. This discussion was an example of what can transpire if an issue is truly granted priority status. I'm not here to speak negatively of fellow law enforcement officers. I hold in the highest regard anyone who puts on a uniform and a badge, therefore placing them a target on themselves. I do find this perplexing, as much public dissatisfaction that is expressed by Commissioners Court regarding some activities of the constables, that they should not be performing certain functions and should follow county policies. That dissatisfaction is not borne out by a deputy constable's salary, which I would bet was determined by market studies for deputy constables. The handout I provided shows for the fiscal year 16-17, deputy constables 3 through 5, whose job titles are based on TCO level certification and not on supervisory classification, can earn more than a deputy sheriff patrol officer, and deputy constables also receive take-home vehicles. The court is requesting that deputy constables only perform certain functions, which are fewer than a deputy sheriff, yet they earn more than a deputy sheriff. I can assure this court there's not one deputy sheriff patrol officer whose base salary is $72,000 a year, which is a maximum base salary of a deputy constable 5. Looking at the handout for a sheriff's deputy, you will see that $72,000 is the level of pay earned by a sheriff's law enforcement lieutenant who has earned promotion through competitive civil service testing. None of the constable job titles, non-exempt 07 through 11, require that they are supervisors. I want to be clear that I believe constables deserve that level of base salary as determined by the market. I also believe it is abundantly clear there's a significant problem with the uncompetitive base salary paid to deputy sheriffs. Since the county has settled on an offer of an 8% increase the first year of a 3-year contract, Consider a policy decision directing staff to offer 8% the second year and 8% the third year for a total of 24%. A base salary catch-up of that percentage would bring deputies of all ranks closer to the base salaries of SAPD and DPS. Funding for the initial year has to be available, as it has already been offered, and that would provide 2 more years to find funds for the second and third years of the contract, which, based on the county's last offer, are already partially funded. One option, if agreeable, would be budget transfers from funds such as capital projects, which could be budgeted for the next 2 fiscal years. This is not an insurmountable issue, but a policy decision. A policy decision must be made to stop kicking the can down the road. Statements have been offered to be patient. It's too late right now. It will get taken care of next time. Well, deputies have been more than patient. Every time a contract is signed, another 4 years of life is signed away. What's happened to you in the last 4 years? I know I have lost people very close to me that I will never share time with again. Excuse me. The attitudes of many have turned against police, and it is more dangerous to be a police officer now than it was 4 years ago. The sheriff's office has a new elected official, and still, the salaries of deputies have fallen even further behind 4 years later. It's not too late. The time is now. Enough is enough. We, along with all our supporters, with high information voters and communities like the Point at Bulverde Village, the villages of West Creek, the trails at Alamo Ranch, Crownwood, the park at Escondido, Hickory Hollow, and many other communities, and our own voter action network will not stop keeping this issue front and center in county affairs. I again ask that you acknowledge that public safety and the high morale of deputy sheriffs is a basic responsibility of county government, and it is a priority for Bexar County. May God always bless our first responders. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it. Brady Alexander. Brady Alexander. There's no Brady.
My name is Brady Alexander. I represent the East Pyron Symphony Lane Neighborhood Association. I reside in the area also. I choose to live on the south side, not because I have to, but I want to. We oppose the apartments.
Brady, I apologize. I just recognize. Are you going to talk about the sheriff's department, or are you going to? I think you're opposing something else that is an item down, or do you want to talk about this one right now?
Y'all called me up here. I'm talking about item number.
Put down what you were
4B.
going to talk to. Okay, I'll call you back up, Brady, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Thanks, Brady. Derek Easter.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Derek Easter. I hold the current position of investigator here at the Sheriff's Office. I've been employed with the Sheriff's Office for approximately 16 years. Prior to that, I was enlisted in the United States Army as a combat medic. What I'd like to address today, just give you a brief synopsis of our, I'd say, frustration with the wages that are currently being offered. If I could just touch on fair market value for a second. Fair in this context means wages must be comparable to what other agencies in the same field pay, as well as what you are paying employees within your agency doing the same job. Salaries must also correspond to the employee's sense of his/her worth based on his efforts, education, and experience. Thorough market research and a comprehensive salary and benefits package can position your agency to attract and retain quality employees. So, of course, DSABC, we did a study, and it was the same study that was conducted for Commissioner's Court using 5 counties here in Texas. David Smith and his team, they refused to acknowledge that study. What they'd like to do is they'd like to introduce school district indigent counties to, of course, bring that number down so they don't have to offer the money that we actually are deserving of, which is in fair market value. It's not fair. When you introduce school districts and compare them to us, They don't compare to us. I'm not sure if Northside Independent School District or Northeast Independent School District has investigators, but if they do, I can guarantee you they don't carry the caseload that we carry. I can guarantee you they don't conduct investigations based upon patrolmen going to 911 calls for service, because they don't have that. So I don't know how you can compare a school district to a sheriff's office here in Bexar County. What we're asking for is we're simply asking that our study that we conducted, the same study that was conducted for Commissioner's Court and other elected officials here in Bexar County, we're asking that you acknowledge that study and let that stand as the study that you can use to judge us upon fair market value. Currently, I'm at the rank of 18%. I'm currently at the rank of an investigator. So based upon our study, I'm 18% behind fair market value. And each year, the deficit increases. Each contract, the deficit increases. The question that I ask is, how do we reverse that process? How do we stop the deficit from growing here in Bexar County for the deputies? At what point do you offer the deputies here in Bexar County fair market value? Has it ever been offered? I've been here for 16 years, and since the 16 years I've been employed at the sheriff's office, fair market value has never been offered to the deputies of the sheriff's office. And I ask you, what does it take? Who do we have to talk to? It's been told to me one time that, well, you know, the DSABC, they don't have the political clout. They don't have it here in Bexar County to get what they deserve, to, you know, get the vote, to get what they, to get fair market value. And I ask myself, is that what it takes? Does it take political clout to get what you deserve and pay here in Bexar County as a peace officer? A man that lays his life on the line. A man that's going to run after the active shooter inside the bank or inside the school while everybody else is running out. We have to have political clout to get what we deserve and pay. So the current trend that's going on here, when you want to increase insurance, when you want to mess with our time and take our time away, when you want to bring us further behind fair market value, what you're doing is you're pushing the talent that wants to apply for this department, you're pushing them away to other agencies. You're not recruiting them. You're pushing them away. You're pushing the talent that is currently here. You want to make them go get another job. Mr. Smith, you were asked a question on what's the big disparity between SAPD and Bexar County Sheriff's Office? And your response was, well, SAPD has a higher standard. But we've proven that to be incorrect. So now that we've proven that to be incorrect, now what's the reason for not paying us? Since we have the same standard, because that was your reasoning. We've proven that to be incorrect. So now that we've proven you incorrect, do we get fair market value pay? Do we get SAPD pay? Those are questions that I'm asking that are being thrown out there because nobody addresses those issues. It's always, let me tell you something. I was deployed in 2005 to 2006. I'm almost done. I was a combat medic. I was in Ramadi, Iraq. I was over there for 15 months. I came back. When I came back, I was still kind of wet behind the ears, still a rookie. I was out on patrol, had just got out of the jail right before I was deployed. And some veteran patrolmen, they were like, hey, man, why don't you go SAPD, man? What's wrong with you? Why are you sticking around here at the sheriff's office? I was like, I like the sheriff's office. A lot of my friends are here. Some of my friends were in the jail, and they went to SAPD. You know, some went to DPS, but I like the sheriff's office. And I didn't want to start over. I didn't want to do the whole academy thing. I was already vested pretty much. And they were like, you're not going to make the money here, man, that SAPD makes. And my response to them was, well, we have collective bargaining. Eventually we're going to get there. And some other veteran officers agree with me. Yeah, you know what? We have collective bargaining. Eventually we'll get the money that SAPD is getting. Eventually we'll get the benefits that SAPD is receiving. That was in 2006. It's 2016, 10 years later, and we're nowhere near. We constantly, year after year, fall behind SAPD in pay, in benefits. We fall behind DPS in pay and benefits. 10 years later. I was wrong in I don't want to say I was wrong. I like the sheriff's office. I love being here, but it makes me feel like I made a mistake, and I should not feel that way.
Eric, you want to wrap it up?
Okay, I'll wrap it up. So what we're asking for is we're just asking for honesty and truth when it comes to negotiating. We're not asking for the manipulation of numbers. We're not asking for financial tactics to prevent us from getting paid. We're asking for honesty and truth. Please just come to the table fairly with an open mind, because when you get rid of all the gaming, right is right and wrong is wrong. Numbers do not lie. Only people lie. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, dear. Janice Henry.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hello, I'm Deputy Janice Henry. I have been with the Sheriff's Department for 26 years. 11 of that was in detention and 15 in law enforcement. I am currently the nationally certified crime scene investigator with the IAI, and I proctor the test for SAPD. So I am trained, I'm qualified, and I'm experienced. Now on to my topic. Judge, I guess he's gone. Okay, commissioners, the contract is different this year because of what the court and the budget office has taken away from us, and that's the benefits. Of course, you've heard plenty today about the fair market value and why we can't agree on the exact amount. Both sides have done studies, and you've proven this. It's time to put a number on it and to pay deputies what they're worth, and more than just some 2% cost of living. The second thing is our EPO. We've lost the EPO level of care for ourselves and our families. We were willing to pay for that extra care, but you took it away. Our families now have to settle for less care and a lot more money and deductibles. We didn't even have a say in it. The third thing is comp time. I know it's a thorn in your side, and the fact is, we earn that time, hour by hour. It was on the job, it was away from our families, and it was often because we were on call and mandatory overtime. Y'all don't work for free, and I don't think we should either. But there is a solution for the comp time issue, and that's to pay for overtime. We are the 17th largest county in the United States. That's something. But we're still getting comp time. The large agencies like SAPD and SAWS that we're often compared to, they pay overtime. And there's no reason our own budget office cannot budget for the same thing. You've often said that you support the deputies and the dangerous job we do, and I believe you. But now it's time to prove it. Look at our contract, and please do what's right. Thank you for your time.
Joaquin Galvan.
Thank you, Commissioners, for letting me speak today. I'm a patrolman with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office for 2 years. I'm assigned to B shift to East Patrol and normally assigned to the Glen and Camelot area. I'm also a SWAT operator on the Bexar County Sheriff's SWAT team. To give you information about myself, I was born and raised here in San Antonio, grew up on the south side, graduated from Harlandale High School. After I went and served 4 honorable years in the U.S. Navy, did 3 tours. I was on board the USS Abraham Lincoln. While I was assigned there, I was assigned to the SCAT team, which is a small craft action team. And then when I returned, I'm also now a proud member of the VFW Post 76. I returned back to San Antonio and received my associate's degree with Palo Alto College at the same time while attending the police academy. Soon after, I was employed by Pearsall Police Department. It's a very small city, officers of only 20 officers, where I was getting paid $800 more to serve and protect a much smaller community than Bexar County. The topic has come up between me and my fiance, the decision of applying with a higher paying agency. Okay, the consideration that we're talking about is SAPD and DPS because now they offer a lateral transfer program, which now I qualify for because of the training experience that I've received here with Bexar County. I love Bexar County. I mean, it's the support that I've gotten recently in series shows that I don't want to leave them. I stand here today to ask you to consider fair market value and competitive wages for what we do. I'm here today, if you're wondering why I'm in a wheelchair and the injuries that I have is because on July 31st, I was dispatched to a reckless driver call where I've located the vehicle that was driving reckless through a neighborhood. The vehicle fled from me. We were driving on Crestway at a high rate of speed. Another vehicle crossed in front of the suspect's vehicle and they collided into it. That vehicle then collided into me, hitting me directly in my driver's side door, T-boning my patrol vehicle. Fellow deputies told me that I was unconscious and unresponsive when they found me, and it took about almost an hour for first responders and firefighters to cut me out of my vehicle. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I've lost memory from it. I only remember waking up that day for work. The injuries that I've sustained from that were a broken ankle, a broken femur. I broke my femur in half, a broken pelvis, and a broken forearm, everything needing surgery. And also I sustained brain damage, or not brain damage, but a concussion that was a result of my memory loss. I lost maybe about a week's worth of memory. I tell you this incident because I almost died, okay? I went to work not knowing what was going to go on, just like another normal day. I told my fiance goodbye. I told him I love him. I have a 10-year-old daughter, and I almost didn't come home. Okay, I know, and my family knows, my daughter knows. I taught her since I first started that I might not come home, and I left everything ready if I didn't. I put my family through a lot from that incident, and they understand that. All I ask for you and the commissioners is to take into consideration the fair market value and decide the fair market study and hope that you will make the right decision. All we ask from the county manager's office is to be fair for our deputies who serve and protect the citizens of Bexar County. I thank you again for letting me speak. Thank you.
Renee Ochoa.
Commissioners, good morning.
Morning.
My name is Renee Ochoa. I'm a patrol sergeant with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office, assigned to East Patrol Second Shift. I'm here today to ask you to consider an order directing the county manager to conduct a fair market study for law enforcement deputies that should be used in the bargaining process. The study should consist of the same top 5 counties in the state that are used for all other county positions. We know that by adding other entities such as ACCD police and NISD police, the county manager is able to lower the figures to justify the low pay. Although we're not asking for the same pay as SAPD and DPS, who are working here in our same market and performing the same duties as our deputies, we are asking that the county manager simply be fair. What is fair? Fair is using the top 5 counties in Texas. How do we know this is fair? The Human Resources Office, at the direction of the county manager, conducted the same study this year for the Citizens Advisory Committee that was appointed by the Commissioner's Court to recommend all elected officials' salary in Bexar County. So all we're asking is for the same fair consideration for the deputies who protect and serve the citizens of this county. I would also bring to your attention one of the guiding principles of the Citizens Advisory Committee for elected official salaries. The committee believes that parity has been sought by recommendations of previous committees and should be maintained through regular increases. This prevents Bexar County from falling behind when wages in the relevant community increase. A lapse in parity over a period of time necessitates instances of awarding significant increases to bring salaries up to the market average. The committee reviews current wage information in an attempt to maintain parity. I'd like to challenge County Manager Smith to come out and ride with a deputy on a Friday night on second shift and see for himself the work that these brave men and women do for our community. I think he'd have a different opinion of these brave deputies if he saw firsthand the great work that they do. Over the years, I've worked side by side with SAPD, DPS, HSI, and FBI, fighting human trafficking and auto theft. I can tell you firsthand that these deputies behind me are some of the best law enforcement officers I've ever worked with. If you don't think these law enforcement officers deserve to be paid fair market study, I would ask you to come out and ride with them one night and see the kind of work that they do in this community. That's all we're asking. Be fair. So if there's any questions that I could answer, I would love to answer any questions. I know you've heard from numerous people today, but this is a very important issue, and it's come to the forefront. It's almost going to be a crisis. Now that SAPD and DPS are offering lateral transfers from agencies that have populations of over 100,000 people, if you have 3 years experience...
Do you want to wrap it up?
Yes. If you have 3 years experience, you can go through a modified academy with them and make much more than you could here at Bexar County. And I believe the citizens of Bexar County deserve to have the best law enforcement officers that they can have. And the only way to keep that going is going to be to pay fair market wages. And that's all we ask. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Sergeant. Roy Fletcher.
Good morning, members of the Commissioner's Court, county staff, members of the gallery, and those people that are watching us over the internet. My name is Roy Fletcher. As a concerned longtime resident of Bexar County, I am here to express my own personal thoughts and apprehensions regarding the wage and compensation policy that the county wants to implement for the patrol deputies of the Sheriff's Office. I'm an employee of the Sheriff's Office, hold the rank of Patrol Lieutenant, and serve as the 2nd Detail West Patrol Watch Commander. This 24th of October will be my 20th anniversary. That date will also be a very crucial one because I'm at a crossroads in my career. I'm 42 years of age, and I will have to make a decision whether if I'm going to stay here for another 20 years or I'm going to go to another agency. On August 30th, 2016 and September 16th, 2016, my heart was dismayed and discouraged after hearing members of the Budget Office use misinformation and erroneous facts to justify their proposed recommendations for wages and benefits to the patrol deputies of the Sheriff's Office. However, these same statements motivated me to come today and publicly speak to all of you. Serving my community is a passion and a vocation of mine. Public safety is my calling. I like helping people in distress, catching criminals, and placing them in jail. During the last 20 years of this Sheriff's Office, I know the stress of having to work evenings, nights, weekends, and holidays, having to stay late after a call. I have arrested rapists, interrogated murders, written and executed arrest warrants, investigated crooked cops. I have participated in LE operations in which a suspect randomly started shooting at us. I have been kicked, spat upon, and cursed by criminals. I have helped find lost children, restore stolen property to the rightful owners, and help stranded motorists on the street of the county. All these incidents took place while serving my community as a law enforcement officer. Patrol deputies are good people who have the heart to serve every day. These individuals place their lives on the line every single day. However, the currently offered compensation policy for patrol deputies leaves very little to be desired as to whether our jobs are valued and appreciated. Administrators for Bexar County have an obligation to ensure that the funds they collect from taxes are spent in a conservative and responsible manner. On the other hand, they also have an obligation to ensure patrol deputies are reasonably paid for what they do. Paying fair wages to patrol deputies is not being irresponsible. So how does the Budget Office determine a socially responsible fair market wage for a sheriff's patrol deputy? Very simple, by comparing apples with apples and not apples with oranges. The Bexar County Sheriff's Office is a full-fledged major law enforcement agency. We're not an auxiliary police force. Compare us with something that's similar to us. The small bedroom communities of Bexar County, when they have a homicide, they don't handle it themselves. They call the Texas Rangers. Bexar County handles all our homicides. None of the surrounding counties, when they have a major crash or fatality on the highway, investigated that themselves. They call DPS. Bexar County takes care of all our roads in the county. The current wage disparity has caused prominent staff of the Sheriff's Office to leave. 2 investigators, the commander of the Internal Affairs Division and one of its investigators, in the past 6 months left to join the state. They left. One of them had 25 years of service. The other one had 35 years of service, 30 plus years. One started at $70,000 a year, plus his retirement from the county. The other one started at $82,000. Neither one pays for the health insurance. They pay zero for themselves. Both of them have take-home vehicles, which is part of their compensation package. When you compare a lieutenant in the sheriff's office versus somebody in SAPD, a lieutenant for the city of San Antonio and an officer pays zero towards their retirement. That means that the 7% that I put into retirement, they can use as their expendable income. They also pay zero in Social Security. That's another 7.65% that they get to save. When you talk about the difference in pay, it's gross. And it's getting worse every single year.
Lieutenant, you want to wrap it up?
The cost of living in San Antonio is drastically increasing. In 2012, when this current expired collective bargaining agreement was signed, the median price of a house in San Antonio was $145,000. Today, on June 15th, the Express News said that same house is worth $203,000. Bexar County, it's no longer a sleepy town America that it was 15, 20 years ago. The cost of living is also increasing. It's not only when you compare us to other people, but it's the cost of living here. Precinct 1 in Bexar County is the 4th fastest growing precinct in the state of Texas. Look at the south side. Look at all the fields that the oil companies have opened. There's money, folks. I'm asking you to please invest in your employees. I thank you for your time.
Bellevue, representing Carolyn Jordan. And I think you're the last one.
Okay. Commissioners, thank you. I'm not sure if this is the right forum or not. I am just trying to help out a friend. I am an attorney, so I am capable of doing this. She has recently been diagnosed with vascular dementia, and she moved here to San Antonio from Laredo at the end of 2014. Due to her illness, she failed to apply for her homestead exemption, and then 2015 she failed to pay her taxes. Her daughter is working on correcting all of these issues. The only thing we're trying to do is see if we can have the late fees waived, and when I talked to the appraisal district, they said I needed to approach the Commissioner's Court and ask. I realize today you may not be able to give me an answer, but I was hoping that maybe you could, in a polite way, tell me where to go. I do have a letter from her doctor saying that what her diagnosis is, and we're not trying to get out of paying taxes. Like I said, her daughter is making the appropriate arrangements. It's just we're trying to have the late fee waived simply because it was not an intentional act on her part. She does have a disease and wasn't making the right decisions.
Thank you, Michael, for coming in. Tony, can you get? Thank you very much. The last one, I'm sorry, I thought you still were part of the sheriff's group. Again, thank you. I want to thank Roy Fletcher and everybody for coming and saying 3 minutes. Brady, where are you at? You ready? Or you want to wait till that agenda comes up, that item? Come on up. That's it.
Once again, my name is Brady Alexander. I'm speaking in opposition to item 4B, the apartment complex at Chavano Road. I am the elected representative of East Pyron Symphony Lane Neighborhood Association, live on the south side, in the second best area south of Highway 90, in my opinion. We have apartments run by the same company on VFW. They're a problem. For brevity, I will not list or read all of the police reports that have gone in there. They're subsidized. So is everything within sight of Mission San Jose. Also, the apartments I mentioned at Chavano, Lago Vista, 410 and Morrison, multiple apartments at Military and New Braunfels, also New Braunfels at Pecan Valley, and New Braunfels at Hot Wells. The South Side is saturated with these kind of subsidized housing projects, and we feel it is unfair to the residents and the community to have enclaves dumped on us like this. One only has to look at Via Coronado to see the damage it has done. Also, if you look where Victoria Courts used to be in the Lavaca neighborhood, I don't think Lavaca would be what it is today if they were still there. This is not what we want as the community, and we will hold our elected officials accountable for their decisions on this. This was a nice area before the World Heritage designation and deserves nothing but the best to be built in that area. We would like to see high-quality, low-density, owner-occupied type structures for a stable community. And we believe that this economic segregation policy of putting these units in close proximity is wrong, and it only keeps people down, puts the poor in one area, and is totally unfair. I never hear about these problems in Alamo Heights, Hill Country Village, Chavano Park, and I wonder why. And it's basically Ben Franklin. Comes down to money. This area that is proposed is in the county now and is up for annexation soon. We feel this is being done in haste to beat the annexation by the city. I have attended meetings with the paid mouthpiece for the developer, and they have said they are not willing to wait until this area is annexed. We don't agree with what is going on down there, and the local neighborhood association, Via Coronado, which their representative could not be here today since they have to work for a living, has sent a letter to the Commissioner's Court expressing their opposition and their reasoning. Also, their reasoning for not accepting the over $100,000 offer from the developer to help fix their area park. So it's more than money to them, it's the principle of it. There's also 1,000 acres owned by the bank in proximity between there, Espada Mission, and Via Coronado. What kind of precedent is that going to set by placing nearly 600 subsidized units in an area there? Think there's going to be a nice subdivision go in there? I doubt it. We just ask for a delay to look at all information and make an informed, objective decision and not to set a bad precedent in this area. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brady. And yes, we'll be setting up a meeting, and it will be pulled. That item is pulled as we're going forward. But thank you for coming up. And I did get a letter from Ms. Martinez, and so did everybody else up here. Thanks.
Thank you for your confirmation.
Thank you, Brady. Okay. Renee, I guess on a time certain, I know we're running a little bit late. Renee, you want to come up on the 10:30 time certain?
Commissioner, if I could just say one thing with respect to the deputies who came by. Thank you, Commissioner. I just want to thank the members of the Sheriff's Department who came by. There's a couple things that I think we as a court need to ensure as we move forward with our negotiations. There are a lot of numbers being thrown about, and I do think we need to come to some sort of agreement. And if the negotiators are in disagreement, then I think at some point, perhaps in executive, it's up to us to make a determination as to what numbers are we agreeing to, and we can be held accountable for those numbers. The fair market study request from Sergeant Renee Ochoa is certainly something that we need to look at. I know that there have been multiple that have been bantered about. Again, we need to figure out whether or not we have the right market study. I guess I am concerned about the smaller towns issue, the school district issue with respect to law enforcement. There's a clear difference. And I would like some clarity on what is the numerical number that we are in total over the years of this contract in dispute over. It is my understanding it's about $1.5 million total that separates the county and the Deputy Sheriff's Association. If that's the number, then that's something that we should talk about, and figure out if we've allocated enough for negotiations. So I just we need to get clear on some of these numbers issues. We recognize that the court plays a back role, but it's obviously been brought to the court. So we've got to sort through some of these issues. So thank you, Commissioner, for your
good point. I think, and we'll be addressing some of those issues as we go forward. Commissioner Wolf, you have any questions? No, you're fine.